This is the traditional Welsh song. I'll explain that a bit later, but anyways, the Merry Lwyd is a Welsh midwinter tradition that takes place anytime from around early December to mid-January.
You could snap for months.
The Merry Lwyd is a decorated horse skull upon a pole operated by a person under a cloak. The Merry Lwyd is led around by a well-dressed person who is the ostler, or the leader of the group, and in some traditions a comedic Punch and Judy figure from English tradition also join the group.
So many sounds and not a vowel among them. As vowels.
Spelling Lwyd really hurt my brain earlier, too.
Yeah. Celtic history. All the Celts used to live together. Eventually, they of course, being Celtic, fought. The Irish and the Scottish said, okay, we're going north and west and taking all the vowels with us. And the Welsh were like, okay, we're going south. And, well, anyway, to this day, Welsh children can still not sing Old MacDonald's Farm because they don't understand E-I.
Old MacDonald's had a farm. Y-W-Y-W-Y.
It spells Smith.
You can see like the ostler there, this guy who's a well-dressed gentleman who leads the group around. Anyways, the group basically operated as a wassailing group and went from house to house knocking on doors. When greeted, a singing duel begins in which the Merry Lwyd group requests entry into the house and the homeowners sing back, singing excuses as to why they cannot. Eventually, the homeowners are lent and welcome the Merry Lwyd group in for some festivities, ale and snacks, and some comedic performances from the group before they depart for the next house. And in return, they are said to be blessed with luck for the new year. And also, the Merry Lwyd will run around snapping at people. Also in the tradition where they have a Judy character, the Judy will go to the kitchen and douse all fires before sweeping the floors and taking all bad luck and trouble, which is kind of ceremonially swept out of the kitchen. The traditional opening song, in English, this is just one of traditional opening songs. The tradition varies, but this is the most common one. Well, gentle friends, here we come. To ask, may we have leave. To ask, we may have leave. To ask, we may have leave. To sing. If we may not have leave, then we will listen to the song that tells us of our leaving, that tells us of our leaving, that tells us of our leaving tonight. We will cut our shins, crossing the stiles, to come here, to come here, to come here tonight. If there are people who can compose elegantly, then let us hear them now. Let us hear them now. Let us hear them now tonight. If you've gone to bed too early in a vengeful spirit, oh, get up again good-naturedly. Get up again good-naturedly tonight. The large sweet cake with all kinds of spices, oh, cut generous slices. Cut generous slices. Oh, cut generous slices. Then this Christmas tide. Oh, tap the barrel and haul freely flow. Don't share it meanly, don't share it meanly, don't share it meanly. This Christmas tide. It should be remembered that this is only the most common opening song, and specific openers or lack of a traditional opening song vary from place to place and from group to group that does the Mary Lwyd tradition. The rest of the song battle is often improvised, although there are some common refrains out there. Here's a two-round explanation, two-round example of how the song battle goes that's cited in Why the Partridge Was in That Pear Tree, A History of the Christmas Carols by Reverend Mark Lawson Jones, again translated from Welsh verse to English prose. The Mary Lwyd party, open your doors, let us come and play. It's cold out in the snow at Christmastide. The householders, go away, you old monkeys, your breath stinks, and stop blathering, it's Christmas time.
Wow.
Our mare is very pretty. Let us come and play. Her hair is filled with ribbons at Christmastide. Instead of freezing, we'll leave the Mary inside to amuse us. Tonight is Christmastide. Here's another example from Dr. Brenton Morris Baird, starting with the inhabitants of the house, again from Welsh verse to English prose. The householders, did you lock the doors? The wassail boys are coming to sing. The Mary Lwyd party, here we come, innocent friends, to ask permission to sing. The cats and dogs are running for their holes from listening to such voices in the night. Now listen, you funny little man. Your breath stinks, though they're through 2 yards of oak tonight. You'll go back for a week and part of a fortnight if there be cause tonight. The Mary Lwyd group again. Oh, tap the barrel. Let it flow freely. Do not be miserly to the singers. The householders. Jenkins the priest is coming, I swear, and he'll make you leave my dwelling. And often after the revelry, there'll be a parting song such as this. Here's in English again. She's a lovely, lovely mare. Thousands praise her. Her head is famous and naughty, full of unsurpassed medicines. The tradition declined later in the 19th century with the rise of Methodism in Wales, which tended to take a rather dim view of many folk traditions, seeing them as a mixture of the old pagan and popish ceremonies, and thus being extremely sinful. Though not as popular, the tradition hung on in places and has recently seen a revival in Wales and has been championed as part of Welsh cultural heritage with such groups as Trotcon, the music tradition of Wales, a charity that aims to promote and preserve Welsh musical and dance traditions, bringing the traditions into schools, and providing flat pack Mary Lwyds for use by those who cannot have access to a horse stall, such as in the classrooms themselves. This is the group actually going to I believe it's an elementary school in Wales. What?
Sorry, I'm just imagining flat pack horse stalls.
Yeah, you can actually go on the side. I believe they have them that you can print off into cardstock. They look kind of like horse skulls, but like honestly, it's like some cardstock like made in kind of like a little like horse skull.
Oh.
Before 2020, the tradition was expanding with greater public performances and popularization of the tradition. But however, in the age of pandemic, the tradition has gone online through Zoom wassailing and Mary Lwyd visits. This is actually a YouTube performance where several Mary Lwyds got together to do a internet wassailing and also Mary Lwyd visits. The origins of the Mary Lwyd tradition are rather disputed, and how long it has been around is rather hotly disputed. and was first being recorded and mentioned at the end of the 18th century. Although there are arguments saying it dates all the way back to the 16th century, if not older. The tradition is most popular in South Wales, specifically around the historic county of Glamorgan. That's around, what's the Welsh capital? I can't remember the name at the moment.
Cardiff?
Yeah, Cardiff. It's in the historic county around there. It's particularly common around places where there were coal mining communities around Wales as well. This leads to one of the more common theories about the origin of the tradition, in that it's a Welsh adaptation of the English hobby horse tradition, specifically the masked horse style, which is similar to the Mary Lwyd tradition, although the heads in the hobby horse tradition are typically made out of wood or other materials, although some rare traditions do use horse skulls. This is a English hobby horse here, and you can see the very close resemblance to the Mary Lwyd. The hobby horse is typically part of a mummers or gauzing group that typically go around doing folk performances from place to place and house to house, performing skits for ale and snacks at certain times of the year. Specifically, they tend to do the guising and mummery around May Day, Easter, Christmas, and Plough Monday, which is a traditional start of the agricultural year in the UK. It's the first Monday after Epiphany, which is, I think, usually around right around usually like January 7th or so.
Yeah, Epiphany is January 6th.
Yeah, the first Monday after that.
Okay.
It's also very rarely done on Halloween. It's very rare, but it does occasionally happen. The name of Mary Lwyd is may even be related to the Old English phrase Mary Lwyd, a merry game. Another popular origin relates it back to the Celtic horse goddess, specifically the British form of the goddess known to the Gauls and Romans as Epona, which roughly translates to the Great Mare. We have a Roman, carving of her here was as the leader with several horses surrounding her. It's possibly related. This is also related to possibly the figure of Rhiannon from the Mabinogion, a collection of tales involving British legendary figures that has a humor take on ancient British mythology, in which it originally might have involved the gods, but they were translated into like heroes during the Christian era, and it's very obscure if Rhiannon was originally a goddess or not, or just a legendary figure. In its tradition, the skull also has importance, since Epona's horses also occasionally functioned as psychopomps, and the return of ancestral spirits with the group for a cheer and reunion. This is further bound up in the tradition around the winter solstice, as a time when the Victorians used to say that the veils were thin. Before I go a bit further, a quick aside here about the idea of the Victorian idea of the veils. The concept comes from the era of Victorian spiritualism, and envisioned a world that was divided between the normal world and the spiritual one. This is a different view from how the traditional peoples like the Celts would have viewed their world, in which the supernatural and the world of the normal commingled a lot more, instead of having a firm dividing line. The titular veil also tends to refer to the veil in the Christian Bible that was said to be at the Temple of Jerusalem and hid the inner sanctums from view, and was rent apart with the death of Christ. This was used as a metaphor for the Victorian spiritualists, denoting the barrier between the normal and spiritual world that they hoped to bridge. This is in part why ghost stories are very popular around Christmas in the British Isles as well. Most famously, a Christmas carol gets its inspiration from this old tradition. The association of Mary Lwyd and the dead is also used to affect in the 20th century Welsh poet Vernon Walton's ballad of Mary Lwyd, which begins like this. Mary Lwyd, how the course of frost, star horse, and white horse of the sea is carried to us. The dead return. Those exiles carry her. They who seem holy and have put on corruption, they seem corrupt and have put on holiness. They strain against the door. They strain against the fire which fosters and warms the living who have cast them out from their own fear and from the fear of themselves into the outer loneliness of death, rejected them and cast them out forever. Another possible source is stated to be Christian traditions, either through the Virgin Mary herself, who is being honored for a pun, making Mary into a mare, or it's possibly related to the medieval tradition of the Feast of the Ass, which is a part of the Feast of the Fools traditions. The Feast of the Ass was a lighthearted celebration which honored the donkeys in the Bible, particularly the one that bore Mary to Bethlehem and then into Egypt. It was most popular from around the 11th to 15th centuries and happened traditionally on January 14th. It involved a special Mass of the Ass, which would start with a procession with someone portraying one of the Hebrew prophets or Mary riding a donkey or hobby horse from the village to the church. Some places following the following special intruit was said before the Mass began. From the eastern lands the asses come, beautiful and very brave, well fitted to hear burdens. Up, Sir Ass, and sing, open your pretty mouth, hay will be yours in plenty, oats in abundance. In some celebrations, instead of saying amen the Deo Gratias, the congregants would bray and hee-haw to bits of the Mass, which was probably a great sight. Since we're on the topic of the solstice and horses, before we begin, some specific winter traditions that's worth pointing out. In many mythologies, the horse is often strongly associated with not only the land, but also the sun. Some examples include the Norse Avakar and Alvosor, I'm pronouncing them terribly, two horses who pulled the sun for the sky. The Indic Agraveda, who besides being a incarnation of Vishnu, was also a white horse who pulled the sun into the sky every morning in some Indian traditions. The horses of Helios, the horses of the Canaanite sun gods Chepesh, among other examples where the horse was connected with the sun, and of course Myro Coney continued that with Celestia. Now let's go off to a different topic, Christmas poop. Let's talk about the Christmas pooper. It's a popular form called the most popular form is the Caganeer, yes, that's it. I had no idea how to pronounce that, of Catalonia, but can also be found in other areas of Spain, Portugal, and also Naples for some reason. The tradition takes for as a figure, most often it's a peasant in a red cap, relieving themselves and is added to the nativity scenes. In fact, in areas where this is popular, it's considered bad luck to not have the pooper in the nativity scene. How and why the pooper exists is a matter of debate, and some have put forward that the pooper is symbolically fertilizing the soil for new growth. Others say it's leveling figure as it's or that he's casting out sin by relieving himself at the nativity scene. But it's a very weird tradition, and as you can see, in Catalonia, they make a bunch of celebrity poopers, such as the current Pope, Wonder Woman, various heroes. Basically, every
Politicians
celebrity.
are another big one, both Spanish politicians and other world leaders.
Yeah,
That's just true.
So where's our Trump
I was
pooper?
going to put up a Donald Trump one, but I don't. But I don't want to remind people of how much he pooped.
Thank you.
Still recovering too much from it.
Yeah. This brings us to another Catalan tradition, the Tio de Natal, the Christmas poop log. I have no idea what happened in the Catalan areas to have all their Christmas traditions involving poop, but it's an interesting tradition they have. Starting with the Feast of the Immaculate Conception, parents would set up a log with a face on it for the children to feed, cover with a blanket, and take care of until Christmas Eve or day, when it would defecate out presents and candy. This is often preceded with the kids singing a traditional song, hitting the log with sticks, and calling on the log to defecate out presents or sweets, or it would be badly beaten with the sticks. In English, the song is roughly poop log, poop out nougats, hazelnuts, and matzo cheese. If you don't poop well, I'll hit you with a stick. Poop log, poop. Yeah.
There are plenty of YouTube videos showing children doing the song and stuff.
Yeah.
But of course, you give a 4-year-old boy a stick.
Yeah.
He's not going to wait until the song is over.
Yeah.
And he's not just going to hit the log.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, sis!
It's actually northern Spain, so
Yeah.
Barcelona and kind of the surrounding area.
Yeah, that part that tried to leave Spain recently. After the song, the kids are sent to another room to pray or heat up their sticks. And while the kids are away, the parents hide the sweets and toys under the poop log's blanket, so that when the kids come back, the log has magically pooped out all the presents and sweets. Yeah. Fun old traditions in Catalonia.
Yeah, another variation on this that happens in some traditions and some not is as they're pulling out the gifts and candy, you can tell when the log is done when it starts pooping out onion and garlic. So that would be the last thing you would pull out, and then that's how you tell the kids, well, he's done.
You don't want any more of this, do
Yeah. Now let's talk about some holiday enforcers and Krampus. Moving on from poop, let's take a look at some holiday enforcers. The bad cop to St. Nicholas's good cop. They're usually demonic-looking figures who, instead of rewarding good children, would punish the bad ones. The most well-known version of this is Krampus from the German Alpine regions. Krampus is a demon who often has a bundle of sticks or whips to swat bad children, and a sack or basket to specifically take away bad children to either eat them or transport them to hell. He will often, in modern times, dispense coal to bad children instead of sweet stretch toys as well. There are a number of parallels with this figure outside of Europe. Probably the closest example is the Nabarhange, which is part of the Japanese New Year tradition around the Oga Peninsula area. In this, people dress up as Oni and other spirits and will admonish naughty children and those who sit around the fire being lazy in winter. They will also, by visiting, take away misfortune and bring blessings for the coming year, but only if the performers are giving mochi or sake and food, depending on the person they are visiting. Specifically, newlyweds, if they get visited, have to provide a full feast for the Nakamarange. which brings in parallels with the selling tradition as well. In this little Japanese tradition. And here they are like grabbing a frightened child. And also here's Krampus with another frightened child. Gotta make sure those kids are fearful so that they don't misbehave. Another famous enforcer is Pritcha, whose origins are as a goddess in some Germanic Alpine regions. She can appear as either a beautiful woman or a horrible hag. She is an enforcer of cultural taboos, specifically those involving spinning and working hard. Traditionally, she would reward hard workers with a silver coin and punish the lazy by slitting them open and removing their guts and stuffing them with straw and pebbles. She was particularly interested in making sure that girls had spun their allotted amount of wool throughout the year, in which case, if they didn't, she would again slice them open and pull out their guts and stuff them full of straw and pebbles. So get to work on spinning that wool. She also gave the slit and stuff them treatment to those who ate something other than her traditional meal of fish and gruel on her feast day. So yeah, fun little character there. Another famous enforcer is Greylock from the Icelandic book tradition. This giantess is mentioned in the Prose Edda, and she enjoys eating stews made from naughty children, and will crawl around during Christmas time with her sack to take away bad children. There she is back there. She's actually the mother of the Yule Cat, so we'll talk about in 1 second. The Yule Cat is another bit of fun Icelandic Christmas tradition. It's a giant cat that will murder and eat you if you are not wearing new warm clothes. To put in a bit of context, there was a bit of deadline for people to spin wool to be fashioned into warm clothes for the winter in Iceland. People who hadn't done so will not have new clothes for the winter months and will be eaten by the cat. As you can probably guess, the cat is kind of a metaphor for the harsh and brutal Icelandic winters. Another fun little tradition from Iceland is the 13 Yule Lads. The Sons of Greylock and her husband... What?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, the Sons of Greylock and her husband, the giant Lwyd, who would cause mischief and pranks and distribute small gifts to children on windowsills or put rotten potatoes in the shoes of disobedient children. A bit better than what their mother does to the bad kids of like grabbing them, putting them in their sack, and making stews out of them. Yeah. Happy holidays. This is what I had. So, yay. We have about half an hour, so any questions or anything?
But don't have to rap battle against the horse.
Uh-oh.
Would you consider the Mari Lwyd also a variation on a Memento Mori?
Well, yeah, like I said, there seems to be some connection with the dead, and that's specifically brought up in the Welsh poet who brought up the connections.
Oh, okay.
You wish to rhyme with me?
Back here.
Bring your words and we shall see.
Apparently
Oh, you abandoned me.
apparently in Norway or something, they have really big wildcats sometimes. So I wonder if that's where
Norwegian forest cats?
Oh,
They're
those things are
big.
beautiful.
Yeah.
So anyway, I wondered if that's where the Icelandic tradition